Hey, Astra Kids, and welcome back. This is your monthly horoscope for April 2021 for all fire signs. So, if you have an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius moon or ascendant, this is for you. So, starting off here in the month of April, here on the 1st, we will enter in with the moon in Vishaka. So this is here at the start of Scorpio. And from there, the moon will move into its conjunction with K2. So we're starting off this month of April here with this very intense combination that we've seen before with the moon with K2. Very deep moment as we're entering into this month here. Deep moment to go inward, to look inward, and to really go through the growth, go through the transformation that needs to take place. And so we are ending an old chapter as we're coming into this month of April. Big time for major changes for many of you here. Now, from there, the moon will continue its course where it will meet up with Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury, the Sun, and Venus, Rahu, and Mars, and loop all the way back around. And we will experience a new moon at the end here of Aquarius. And we will have a full moon as well in the sign of Libra. That will be coming up in future videos. But we are going to spend most of the time focusing on these major planetary shifts, and we will cover more of the moon in our weekly horoscopes. So, starting off on the 6th of April, we have a combust Mercury. And I will talk about that in a future video because Mercury is moving on from this sign of Pisces into Aries. So that is a major shift that we will see take place, especially as Mercury is debilitated in the sign of Pisces. Now, on the 9th, Venus will shift into Aries. Major shift once again. We have quite a few things to talk about for this month of April. But Venus, of course, will be moving into its neutral position as Aries is the opposite of Libra, which is the natural home for Venus. So Venus is functioning quite differently here in the sign of Aries. This becomes much more passionate, much more intense. And remember that Venus is still in a combustion as it's coming into this Aries energy. From there, on the 11th, we will have a new moon once again in Pisces. This will be happening at the end of Pisces in the Revati Nakshatra. So we will talk about that in a future video. Following that, we will have the sun in Aries. So we're shifting our focus from Pisces to Aries. So everything that we've been dreaming about, everything that we've been exploring, now it's time to put it into action. Now it is time to start moving forward to actually implement those changes, to actually fight for what you want to create, to accomplish, right? And we talked a lot about that with this full moon that's coming up here at the end of March. That is very much about what you can shape and create. So if you have not checked out that full moon in Hosta video, there is a link above, along with down below in the description as well. Also on the 13th, we will see Mars shift forward into Gemini. So we talked a lot about this transit of Mars in Taurus and what it's doing here with Rahu. It will leave Rahu and move on into the sign of Gemini. So once again, you'll see that in a future video. Lots of shifts and changes here in April that we have to talk about. On the 16th, Mercury will also shift into Aries. And so this is quite an interesting energy as well. This is going to shift the thinking and communication. This becomes much more fast paced, much more direct as we're moving into this Aries energy. And so, depending on where this is in your chart, this can strongly affect the way that you're thinking and communicating, where the actual pace is very direct, it's very straightforward, it's very spontaneous. And so this is quite a different energy from that Mercury in Taurus, where it was very much, that Mercury in Pisces, where it was very much confusing. There was a lot of changing, a lot of shifting, a lot of, as I like to say, talking underwater when Mercury is debilitated in that sign of Pisces. And so a lot of scrambled information, a lot of confusion there in terms of that position of Mercury in Pisces. But as it comes into Aries, the energy shifts dramatically, where the speech becomes much more dynamic, much more direct. On the 26th, we will see our full moon there in the sign of Libra. This is happening in the Swati Nakshatra. So I'll talk more about that in a future video, but this is a major full moon as we will see many planets here shifting into Aries. And so we are going to have a full stellium in the sign of Aries moving forward here in the month of April. Lastly, for those of you who wanted me to add in those 3 extra planets, I added in Pluto because Pluto is shifting retrograde on the 27th. So this station retrograde is a major turning point, especially as Pluto is about change, about transformation, right? We call Pluto the cleanup or the recycling, where it is about letting go and starting fresh, reframing things. And so this is a major transformation within ourselves. And this is going to affect us at a very deep level, depending on where this is in your chart. But of course, this Saturn and Jupiter energy has been very intense throughout this whole period here. Now, Jupiter is also going to shift into the sign of Aquarius as well. I will talk about that in a future video. That is something that we will get into very soon because that is a major shift that we are entering into. Jupiter is a social planet, right? It is connected to society. And so that is a major shift to leave its debilitated sign of Capricorn and move on into this very futuristic, technical, humanitarian energy of Aquarius. So big shift there in the collective as we're moving forward. But Jupiter will retrograde later on as well. So lots that we have to talk about as far as moving here into the spring and the summer. If you are in the US, these major shifts that we're seeing take place as the weather is breaking. For those of you with an Aries moon or Aries ascendant, we're starting off with this shift of Mercury, Venus, and the Sun moving back from Pisces into your first house. Major shifts that are happening here at a personal level. For those of you with an Aries ascendant, a lot that you've been doing subconsciously, a lot of work that you've been doing behind the scenes, but a lot is coming to the surface. And so this is a big time of building around your identity, building around what it is that you want to bring into reality. And for a lot of you, you have been creating, you've been growing, you've been doing this internal work that is now coming up to the surface. And so this becomes a very creative time for you, especially with this being Mercury and Venus in the sign of Aries. Very powerful in terms of creativity, in terms of intellect, being able to use the skills and to use the knowledge that you have to create something that you want to bring into fruition, especially as this is coming back out of your 12th house and moving into your first house. We're also going to see at the end of towards the end of April here, we have a full moon in your seventh house. And so these are major playing cards when it comes to this full moon, where this is once again a culmination of what you are trying to present to the world, what you are trying to put on display at this time. And so coming into this moment, especially with the full moon being in Swati, there is a big question here of, is this display, is this image that you are putting out to the world, is it truly how you want to be seen? Is it real? Is it the real you, or is it a facade? And this is a big part of this moment here, is understanding that all of this can really bring towards you the things that you want for yourself, not what you are trying to put on display, but the real things that you truly desire. With Mars being there in your second house, moving on to your third house, big time to express the things that you want to build on, express the things that you want to create, using that intellectual power to actually get these things across into the world. And as Mars is aspecting over to your ninth house, this becomes a big time of using the things that you have studied and worked on throughout this period of time to really use this in a big way, and lots of big changes that you can make in terms of growing, in terms of really moving forward, as Mars is also going to be aspecting over to Pluto in its retrograde. So, this is quite an interesting shift for a lot of you here with an Aries moon or Aries ascendant, where this definitely feels like you're coming into the image or into the identity that you want for yourself. So, lots of major changes and shifts coming into this month, a lot that you can take advantage of in terms of your growth, your experience, coming into your own, owning who you are coming into this time period, this frame where you're shifting, you're changing at such a profound level coming into this moment, especially with Pluto that will be retrograde in your 10th house. Your status, your image, your identity is changing at a very deep internal level. So this is time to really reflect on, who do you really want to be in this moment. Now there will be a new moon before this full moon happening back in your 12th house. And so, as this is a full moon, I'm sorry, a new moon in Ravati, this is a major moment of going deeper into yourself, going deeper into, who do you really want to become? Who do you really dream of? What is the life that you dream of? Because remember that that ascendant, that first house, is not just your identity, your personality, but it is also your life path. It is what you are projecting out into the world. This is what you are creating and manifesting from. And so there is a big focus here on, what do you want? What is it that you want to create in your reality? What is it that you want to bring into your reality? And with the sun here, huge focus, and this is very powerful with the sun in its exaltation and the sun acting as a functional benefic for your chart as well. Of course, you want to look at where the sun is in your own chart. This is very powerful, where your whole identity, your whole status, your whole image is being shifted towards what it is that you want to manifest, what it is that you want to pull out into the world. So, this is a big moment for those of you with an Aries moon or Aries ascendant. This is also a time where you will see this Mars aspect over to your sixth house as well. If this is something that you're passionate about, something that you want for yourself, there is some major work here that needs to be done of facing the challenges, facing the obstacles, facing the things that are stopping. And so, for those of you who have been analyzing, those of you who have been feeling very challenged, have been feeling the opposition, This is a point in time where it is needed for you to use your intellect, to use your skills, to push through these barriers, to push through these obstacles, because a lot of this is in your mind, right? This is Mars aspecting over from your third house. Major shift, major change that is happening here in terms of your courage, your strength to move through these obstacles. And a lot of you are an Aries ascendant. You have this strength, this capacity to push through these obstacles, but a lot that you're pulling out of your 12th house. And so, a lot that has been building, a lot that has been happening from behind the scenes, and being able to use this towards your goals, towards the things that you want to see prosper and happen is huge for those of you with an Aries moon or Aries ascendant. Mars activating that third house in a huge way coming into this month of April. Now, as far as the cards came up, the first house came up. Absolutely. This is a time that is focused around you and the path that you want for yourself. What it is that you're building, what it is that you're creating, what is it that you want to see? What is it that you want others to see? How is it that you're going to represent your true desires, your true creation that you want to manifest into the world. And you have this, right? You have this knowledge, this reservoir of knowledge that you can use, that you can pull on to grow in these areas. We have Jupiter and Gemini. This is a huge time to use your skills, to use your intellect, to move towards what it is that you want to accomplish. Who is it that you aspire to be with the Panarvasu Nakshatra? So this is a time to move inward towards yourself, towards what it is that you want to see manifest into your life. This is a big shift of being able to use your creative powers, use what you have to create the reality that you want. Last card here, Bharani Nakshatra. This is the second Nakshatra falling in Aries. This is a huge moment, and we will see the moon shift through Bharani also in a major way here in the month of April. This is a time of, once again, using your creative powers to manifest what you want to see. You are giving birth to a new reality if you are willing to take advantage of it. So that was your April 2021 horoscope for Aries moon or Aries ascendant. Let's go ahead and move forward here to those of you with a Leo ascendant or Leo moon. So for those with a Leo ascendant or Leo moon, we are going to see these major players of Mercury, Venus, and the Sun that have been sitting back in Pisces, shifting forward into Aries. So, this is a major time where we're having all of these energies come out of your eighth house and move into your ninth house. This is a moment of all of the changes, all of the shifts that have been happening, and using that to your advantage to level up. So many of you are advancing, you are mastering something. And for some of you, this could be involved with your education as well. But this is a major time, either way, of moving up to a new space in your life, actually using those changes to your advantage. So, for a lot of you, you've been going through these transformations, these internal changes as that eighth house has been strongly activated with all of these planets here in Pisces. Lots of internal shifts that have been happening, right? That eighth house is all about crisis, death, ups and downs. And so there's been a lot of shifting that's been happening here. And this is teaching you everything that you need to know to move forward to level up to your potential. Now, from there, Mars is going to shift from Taurus in your 10th house forward into Gemini in the 11th. This is time for you to gather the fruits of your labor. This is time for you to gain the success that you've worked towards throughout this time period. So, this is an interesting time as we're seeing all of these shifts, all of these changes that are taking place for you, where this is time for you to move ahead. So, for those of you who have felt stagnant or you felt like you've just been going through a lot of shifts and changes that are out of your control, this is time to move forward. A lot that you can gain from this, as this is looking over to your fifth house from that 11th house. But also from there, it's looking at your sixth house. And so you also want to be careful for those of you who have been struggling, who have been getting into impulsive behaviors with all of that eighth house activity. This can land you into debt. This can land you into an illness. But for the most part, on the positive side, this is here to give you the benefits of your work, of what you have been working towards as far as your projects, what you've been creating, what you've been nourishing, what you've been putting your energy into at this time. And in a big way, this is giving you the ability to level up, to move forward towards what you want to see. This is Mars also aspecting over to your second house as well. So this is a major time once again where you can see some gains, you can see some wealth come in through this transit. Now there will also be a full moon happening in your third house. And so this is a time of once again seeing the things that you've been working towards coming into fruition. So, a lot here that you can gain in terms of peace, in terms of wealth, in terms of comfort, those things that you've been very ambitious, that you've been driven towards coming true, coming to the surface. But you want to be careful also because remember that Mars has been in this conjunction with Rahu. And so there's also a question here of are these things that you've been working for, are these things that you've been wishing for, are they really what you truly desire? Big question for those of you with a Leo moon, Leo ascendant. You will be revealed during this time as to if those things that you've been looking towards, those things that you've been wanting to gain, to work towards, are they really, truly what you want, what you desire? Or have you been chasing an illusion? Have you been chasing something outside of yourself that you think is going to fill a void? This is the question here. Now, also, we have Pluto, which is stationing retrograde back in your sixth house. And so, once again, a lot in terms of change in your work field. You could be leveling up, you could be moving on to a higher position. But with Pluto here in the sixth house, a lot of shifts and changes that can come up also in terms of your health, in terms of collecting debt, in terms of any sort of legal issues. So you want to be careful here. Pluto is going to make sure that you do the work to clean up those areas that are no longer serving you. And so major shifts and transformations that can happen from that sixth house. Now, looking at the cards that came up here, we have the ninth house. Once again, we have all of this activity that's going to be going on up in your ninth house, where you can really be leveling up education wise, career wise, whatever the case may be. A lot of you moving forward, advancing during this time. So, your skills can take you a long way. The things that you've been building, the things that you've been working towards with this Taurus energy really can help you work your way up the ladder. We also have Rahu here. So, once again, the ambition, the drive that a lot of you have had during this time with Mars that has been sitting up there in your 10th house with Rahu, very powerful. This is a moment of those things that you've been working towards coming towards your fruition. The Magha Nakshatra falls within your sign of Leo. So a lot of wealth, a lot of recognition that can come from the things that you've been working towards, the things that you've been putting efforts towards, and the things that you've been slacking out in can potentially take away from this. So, once again, you want to be careful with that Pluto sixth house activity. A lot that can come back to the surface that you have to review, you have to go over, you have to face potentially through this transit, depending on your choices, depending on what you've been working towards, what you've been building. So, this can go either way for those of you with a Leo ascendant or Leo moon. Let's go ahead and move forward to our last fire sign here for those of you with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon. So, coming into this month of April, we are going to see the moon back in your 12th house with K2. So there has been some very deep subconscious shifts and changes, and for some of you, you've even been gaining some deeper insight, some spiritual wisdom. For some of you, you've been gaining some knowledge from your dreams, from your intuition coming into this time. So this is very interesting as there's a lot that is shifting and moving, a lot that you've been working towards with Rahu and Mars that's been sitting there back in your sixth house. Now, Mars is going to shift forward into your seventh house. And so this can be a time where whatever it is that you are working towards, that you want to see take place, this can now involve other people. So if you have been working towards a goal, towards a job that involves helping others, this strongly gets activated during this shift of Mars into Gemini. Also, for those of you, you may find yourself simply working in a partnership, working in a business partnership, or working with someone who can support you in some sort of way, really collaborating and working through teamwork can take place during this time. But also, many of you can see some struggles, some difficulties. Mars is unhappy in the seventh house. No matter what chart you have, Mars is unhappy in the seventh house. Because what is the seventh house? It is about negotiation, right? And this is something that we'll talk more about in a future video because this forms something that we call a Manglik Dasha in an actual natal chart. But as far as the transit goes, Mars is coming into the house of negotiation, of collaboration, of marriage, of compromise. And Mars is a soldier, right? Mars does not want to lay down his weapons. And so, with this particular transit, you can see some potential struggles and difficulties that can take place actually within your relationships. However, many of you can overcome this. Mars is a friendly sign to your ruler, Jupiter. This is a time, though, when you want to be careful of getting into arguments, getting into disagreements. From the seventh house, Mars will be aspecting over to your second house. And so you can see some major issues play out in your potential partnerships. However, this can do very well for business as Mars is looking over at your 10th house as well, where a lot of you can very much level up in terms of your career, in terms of your business. And so business is being activated heavily during this time where you can bring a lot of your inspiration, a lot of your ideas into your business efforts. You could find yourself teaming up, collaborating, interacting with others, bouncing different ideas off of others, especially as this is a Mars in Gemini. However, remember that Mars and Mercury have a neutral relationship. And so there can be a bit of a struggle, a difficulty in this area for those of you with a Sag ascendant or Sagittarius moon. Now, we also have this big stellium that has been back in Pisces, back in your. So, this has been quite an interesting shift with all of these planets back in your fourth house, where there's been a lot of time for reflection, a lot of time to go inward, a lot of time to explore different ideas, a lot of different visions that you have towards your career, towards the things that you want to accomplish. But as these planets shift forward into Aries, they're in that fifth house. This becomes a time of needing to be more active, needing to use those skills to actually work towards your goals and achievements. Now, some of you with Venus and Mercury and the Sun shifting over into your fifth house, you may be feeling more creative. You may be getting into something related to the arts, related to beauty, towards entertainment. This can take place here, but for the most part, this is a time of simply using your skills, using your knowledge, using the things that you've been gathering and working towards and actually applying it. So this is a business focused shift as we have all these planets moving forward into this fifth house where it will aspect over to the 11th house of gains. And so a lot that you can gain if you were putting in the effort, putting into the work. Your work is demanding a lot of attention moving into this time. Now, also, we're going to have Pluto stationing retrograde back in your second house. So, this is an interesting time here as we're seeing all these shifts that are taking place, where this is wanting you to release the things that you've been holding on to, release the things that are no longer serving you. And so, for some of you, this will take you back to your childhood. This will take you back to the things that you have developed habits with and actually needing to break those habits, to break those patterns. And so, a lot of shift and change happening for those of you with a Sagittarius Ascendant or Sagittarius Moon, as Pluto will be looking at your eighth house from that second house. A lot of changes that can take place on a big level. Now, we're also going to have a full moon sitting back in your 11th house. So, this is quite the time of growth, of expansion, where a lot of you can be very successful when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to your ambitions, when it comes to the things that you've been working towards, that you've been envisioning. This is coming to fruition. If you are able to continue to put forth the work, continue to stay motivated, continue to stay focused, right? Because your ruler is in debilitation in that second house. And it will move forward into your third house in this month of April as well, which will give you that boost of confidence. It will give you that boost of energy to actually work more heavily towards your goals, towards the things that you want to see. So, this is a beneficial shift for Jupiter coming forward into the month of April. Now, before we get to that full moon, we are going to see a new moon once again back in that fourth house. And so, again, this is about using those visions, that knowledge that you've been collecting back in your personal time, back in your quiet space, using that and directing that towards your career, towards what you want to accomplish. Again, from that fourth house, the new moon will aspect over to your 10th house of career and status. Big time to apply the things that you've been gaining in this downtime, in this reflection, using that deeper inspiration to move towards your goals. As far as the cards go, we get the sixth house. Again, big time for work, big time to put your energy into your business, your career. We also have the Jyeshta Nakshatra, which is heavily focused on career and especially on pulling out that inspiration, that deeper knowledge, that deeper vision, and applying it to business, right? That Jyeshta Nakshatra is within the Pisces Navamsa. This is all about the deeper levels of the mind, using that deep inspiration and knowledge that you are gaining and pouring it into your duty, into your responsibility. Again, we have the 10th house, big time for business. We also have Venus, which is related to your wealth as well. So, this is a huge time, once again, for those of you with a Sag ascendant or Sagittarius moon to focus on your business, to to focus on your career, the things that you're working towards. And for some of you, you need to make those connections with Cancer here as well, making connections with other people who can help you to reach your goals. Remember that that eighth house for you is controlled by Cancer. And the eighth house is connected to shared resources. It is connected to joint finances, to partnership. And so this is a time where many of you are needing to collaborate, needing to pull some wisdom, some inspiration through others, and use this, pour this into your goals. So that was your April 2021 horoscope for all fire signs. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new content. Big things that we are going to see in the month of April. We have a lot to talk about, so make sure that you stay updated with that notification bell. Also, if you are interested in learning more about Vedic astrology, there is a course available on the Facebook group, Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones, and on Patreon. The links for all of that is down below in the description along with the comments. If you have any additional questions, anything that you would like to add, or anything you'd like me to bring up as far as Vedic astrology, let me know down below in the comments and I will bring it up in a future discussion in a video. I want to thank you all so much for joining. I hope you all enjoyed this once again, and I will see you in the next video.